I greet my viewers when I deliver a message which is devoted to human rights. As a human rights watchdog, actually, I must mention that recent reports about Uganda and Malaysia violating human rights of homosexuals and persecuted homosexuals for consensual sex, is an example that human rights being violated in such countries like Uganda and Malaysia. And United Nations should take active measures, to impose sanctions against Uganda and Malaysia government for violating human rights of homosexuals, and also we should condemn persecution of homosexuals in Uganda and Malaysia, and should send a representative to those countries in order to investigate and provide legal assistance to victims of persecution of homosexuals in Uganda and Malaysia. As Associated Press reported it, former Malaysian Prime Minister was actually indicted and prosecuted on the charges of being a sodomite, though he wasn't a rapist and he didn't molest an adolescent. As I believe it was consensual sex between adults, which is legal, and this guy didn't infect anybody deliberately with venereal disease, so this actually was quite innocent relationship. I firmly believe that law and order, of course, should be supported in a sexual relationship in terms of prosecuted sex crimes. For instance, those who deliberately infect their sexual partners with venereal diseases, with no a priori that they do have venereal disease and do not use condoms, they should prosecute it for infecting their sexual partners with venereal diseases, knowing about them and being negligent. And also rapists, those who rape innocent people, should be prosecuted as sex offenders. And also child molesters and adolescent molesters, those who molest adolescents who is younger than 18 years old, and to make sex to an adolescent, actually sex offenders should be prosecuted. And those people who infect knowingly their sexual partners with venereal disease should be prosecuted also. So I believe that the status of sexual offenders stands worldwide. But consensual sex between adults, even if it's homosexual sex, is legal 100% in any country. And I believe that according to Associated Press, my source was Associated Press sources in yahoo.com. Mostly I got it from yahoo.com, from Associated Press reports on yahoo.com. They say that Ugandan government will prosecute homosexuals under the penalty of death, and I believe this is outrageous, and all those Ugandan who are likely victim of persecution, Ugandan homosexuals should be granted political asylum in US Embassy. If they suspect that they might be prosecuted and put to death for being a homosexual person, as Ugandan government does violate human rights most blatantly, flagrantly. And I believe that United Nations lawyers should actually arrive to Uganda and fight against those human rights violation of homosexuals in Uganda and Malaysia. I also believe that actually that human rights should be supported worldwide, and want to say, to uphold human rights. Let's say in Russia, where Russian information and libel law, two laws that prohibit criticism of Russian government and punish people for, let's say, bringing allegations against our people in Russian press. Well, actually, those laws, information law and libel law in Russia, they do violate human rights, rights of freedom of press. They do prohibit criticism of Russian government under threat of freedom clause on part of Russian Ministry of Information. And I believe that international community, United Nations, should actually condemn and this violation of freedom of press in Russia, and should actually impose sanctions against Russia for violating human rights of journalists. Scores of Russian journalists have been murdered by Russian FSB terrorists, were neo-fascist members of FSB and our members of Russian militia, who actually terrorize sometimes journalists for their political views, for their criticism of Russian government. I believe that Russian government and Russian people should be actually criticized, should be criticized in any manner possible, and any attempt to censor freedom of press is illegal and constitutes violation of human rights. And I believe that actually, hopefully my viewers will support my view about human rights in Russia, Uganda, and Indonesia. Will make a contribution in discussing and these issues, and will actually commemorate victims of human rights abuses in those countries.